So I'm just going to go through a couple things, kind of a course introduction, we won't hold a weekly meeting every week. What you're going to be creating this semester in this class is something called a personal creed document. And there are 7 parts to the creed document. And so we will hold a meeting this introductory week. We'll have a meeting. And we will hold meetings mostly on weeks that we have personal creed document assignments. And I'm going to kind of explain all of that here in a second. But if I was to summarize this class, I would summarize it with this quote by Socrates. And that is, "The unexamined life is not worth living." And this class, as we go through it, is very much a class in self-reflection. But to tell you a little bit about how this class began, I'm going to introduce you to kind of the basic concepts. First, here's the textbook. There's like 3 editions of this, so your used one or rented one or bought one might look different. You also have an opportunity to buy an ebook of Inner Victory. Now, I had an email just before class started, and I'll answer that person if you're not here, but the ebook, the question is, how do I access it? And the question is, I've never used the ebook. Has anybody, maybe you can help us out, has anybody here ordered and actually opened the ebook of Inner Victory? Anybody? So no on that. Okay, so the question, if you do order the ebook, I would check with the university store, and they can give you some instructions on that. And I'll also ask that question. But you'll notice the author of this book is David Christensen, and I wanted to introduce you to David. He was actually just in my office this last week. He lives down in Utah now, but he has a really interesting history. David used to work for the Franklin Covey people back when it was just the Franklin people. So Franklin and Covey merged, and he was one of their leaders. And if you think about Franklin Covey, it's the 7 Habits people, it's the Franklin Planner people, it's the people that are helping people like try to succeed. He eventually came to work at BYU Idaho as a religion professor. And so he went from corporate training, training professionals how to be successful, how companies can be successful. Then he came to BYU Idaho. And one of the things he did is he wanted to take all of his knowledge from that corporate world and put it into a book and a class. Well, the interesting thing with he and my relationship with him is they kept calling him on missions. He was called to be a mission president in Chile, and then he came home and taught for a while more, and then he was called to be the MTC president of the Guatemala MTC. And as he kept leaving was the same time that we were developing this course for online. And so I got to have the really great blessing of helping this class get into this format. For many years, we taught it face-to-face exclusively. Now it's almost 100% online. And it's designed to have you kind of go through it at your own pace. I'll explain kind of how the course is set up here in a second. These weekly meetings are just, not weekly because we're not going to do them every week, just a touch point. But as you build your personal creed document, I want to be able to give you some examples so that as you build it, you'll have a little better start. And so welcome to this version. I will always send out a recording. There is no grading for watching or participating in the meeting. It's for your benefit. So they used to be required, but it's encouraged. I'll put it that way. Now, what you're going to be doing in this class is you're going to be building what we call a personal creed document. Your personal creed document is like a blueprint, right? So you have a blueprint. If you were to build a home, you would want to start with a good set of plans. Well, we're going to build a blueprint for your life. And the blueprint for your life has these 7 parts. Now I'm going to show you just some examples of these 7 parts. We're not going to dive into that because you'll have a chance to dive into the 7 parts of your personal creed document as the course goes along. The first part of your creed document is a belief statement. So I want you to think of like the articles of faith, right? Joseph Smith created the articles of faith for the church. This is kind of your articles of faith. What do you believe in? What is important to you? The second thing we're going to create is something, it's kind of like 2 parts to this, is connecting with a mentor. And you're going to find someone who's a mentor in your life. It could be a parent, a mission president, a spouse, an employer, a leader, a bishop. And you're going to ask them some advice. And you're going to record the advice that you get from these folks, okay? The second part is you're going to create a board of advisors. And the board of advisors, if you can think about a meeting, if you could have you had an important decision, you could say, who would be the people that I would want around my table to help me succeed or answer that question? The next part is a document where you're going to talk about your strengths and your abilities and what makes you unique. The next section is your values. Values are like your beliefs in practice. And we're going to spend quite a bit of time on values. I think this is the most important part of your creed document. Then we're going to write some goals. We're going to have a section on gratitude, 2 parts, actually 3 parts. 1, people who've made a difference in your life, events that have impacted you, and a little section on forgiveness. And then the last thing we're going to create is your mission statement. Now you'll notice as I quickly went through those, they all look different. The style and format should be uniquely you. And what you're going to hand in 7 times of the 13 weeks we're together is a draft form. So it might not look like this when you hand it in. At the end of the semester, you're going to hand in your completed personal creed document. And that's going to be the main project for the course. As we go along, you're going to do some case studies and you're going to do a little group work that kind of emphasize these principles. You won't have a case study. Your first case study will be next week. No, 2 weeks from now. Your first personal creed document will be 3 weeks from now, okay? You're also going to have a little group discussion, not this week and not the last week, but the 11 weeks in between. This week, you had that little icebreaker activity, which many of you have already done, which is just a little activity that says, this is who I am, and just answer a couple of questions. You'll see that people have posted there, and you're welcome to comment on those. Next week and the next 11 weeks after that, you're going to have a little group discussion, and you're all in different groups of 5 people per group. The groups will change a little bit through the semester, so you won't be with the same 5 people the whole semester. But the assignment there is you are to post a comment about that topic, and then you need to comment on 2 other people's posts. So the idea there would be you would do your initial post by Wednesday, and by Friday, you would have an opportunity to comment on the other 2 people's posts. Now, as we go through the class, I'm going to introduce you to a couple other books. You don't have to read them or get them or look at them. But how will you measure your life? I'm going to talk a lot about that, even though it's not required reading. So don't worry about going and getting that book. I will insert a couple parts of that as we go along. Questions. That's the course in a nutshell. Any questions that any of you might have?
What's the weekly thing, or the thing that you said that we have to comment on to other people? What was that again?
That's a discussion, what we call a threaded discussion or a discussion board. Yeah.
And that's every week?
Starting next week. Yeah. This week was just the icebreaker activity. Okay. Now, my philosophy on grading, I haven't had it happen yet. I was really close 2 semesters ago. I would like to give, I'm teaching 2 sections, so 100 and couple people have added 100 and a couple students. I would love to give 100 and a couple students A's. This is not a class that anybody should get anything but an A in. It's a personal creed document. I can't say that those aren't your beliefs or those aren't your goals. The only way not to get an A is to just procrastinate and miss assignments or do assignments late. Some weeks, no weeks are really, really hard. There are no quizzes. There is no tests. There's a little syllabus quiz this week, but there are no quizzes or tests. It's you and this project and a couple of assignments each week that will help you build towards your final creed document. If you missed work and it's handed in late, I'll give you partial credit if it's handed in within a week of its due date. And so really it's just a chance for you to just start the week early, don't procrastinate, and then everybody should get you'll get an A grade in the class. If for some reason something happens and you're ill or you've got something that's come up, I don't know why this is. I seem like I have somebody each semester that, well, they're not doing that with COVID, but it like goes on a cruise, right? And they'll have no internet. Just work with me and I'll work with you. Again, this is a class that is designed to help you kind of examine where you're at and strive to do good things. Other questions?
Hi, I came in a little late. I just came in. What did I miss? I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Just a brief overview of the course, which is the building of what we call a personal creed document. And that personal creed document is going to have 7 parts to it. And as you go through the course, all of those parts will be built out. So the best way to describe a personal creed document, think big mission statement, right? You're going to create a mission statement at the end, 1 page, 1 document. I will be holding meetings periodically through the semester. It used to be the meetings were required. So if you didn't participate live, you had to watch the recording and then you had to note that you watched the recording. These meetings are for you to just have a better experience this semester. And I will give some insights into it, and I'll also show examples of personal creed document stuff of other students. So I've shown you this week just 7 parts from 7 different personal creed documents. As we go along in 3 weeks, when you do personal creed document part 1, I'll show you some examples of that. And we'll make the meetings brief. Like we're 15 minutes into this one. A couple might be a little longer than that, but. Okay, other questions? Sorry, that was a long answer to one short question. Seeing none, we will stop this. Now, every time we do meet, I will stay on afterwards to answer or talk to any one of you that wants to visit or ask a question. So we'll stop the recording for the mercy of you and it's like 60 some people that'll have to watch, well, not have to, invited to watch the recording. And, but I'll stay on to answer any questions that you might have. All right. Thank you all. And we'll see.
Thanks, Brother Davis.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Have a good night.